So let's start in the beginning. Matt, how are you dealing with COVID-19? How's been your 2020? It's been a rough year. There was a time that you couldn't wrestle. You have to close your academy. How has the virus affected you both on a personal level, but also on a professional level?
It's definitely been a challenging year. Obviously caught us all off guard, and I don't think no one would have expected that we'd be caught up in a pandemic. Probably, I would say the first 3 months, at least March, April, May, and into June, extremely bored, nothing to do. The daily grind and schedule for myself was all thrown off. I like keeping busy. I like staying busy and being productive and having something to do, and there wasn't much to do at all. So a lot of sitting around and eating food all day and doing nothing. So thankfully, late May, early June, we were able to reopen the school, the H2O Wrestling Academy, and then shortly after, finally start running some shows again, which was huge for myself because, my main source of income, only source of income, for the last 5-6 years has been pro wrestling. So, wasn't able to wrestle, wasn't able to run the school, wasn't able to promote or book or run any kind of shows. So the income coming in to, survive and pay the bills, wasn't there. Only income we had coming in was sales from, Smart Mark Video and IWTV, and Pro Wrestling Tees. So thankfully we had those avenues of revenue coming in, and without it, I'm not sure how we would have made any kind of money or how I would have, put food in the fridge and food in the dog's bowl. But we made it work. And, even still amongst the pandemic, at least in this area and in the business in general, there's only a handful of promotions, that are really running. And, we are fortunate enough at H2O to do that, because we have our own foundation, our own building, and, we can do, what we need to do and what we want. So I'm glad, 2 years ago, we were able to move into here at the H2O Center and, build those bricks to lay the foundation to do what we're doing today, because you never know when a pandemic's going to happen. So it worked out. Everything's going good now. Definitely a little worried at first when it first started, just worrying about, like I said, paying bills and stuff like that. I think overall now, in and outside of the ring, the pandemic wound up being a blessing in disguise for a company like H2O because, right now, like I said, not every company's running. So I think a lot of eyes that weren't giving us or giving the product a chance are now and are coming out to shows just because there's, something to do. And it's really given us a platform, especially like IWTV, going live and things like that. I feel like a lot of the pandemic's, it's horrible overall, but business-wise, like I said, it's kind of been a blessing in disguise. I feel like the last 3 months, the company's grown so much, and we're doing good business, probably the best we've ever had, amongst a bad time overall. So very thankful for that. And yeah, we're doing okay now.
Now that you talk about being fortunate to being able to run shows at the H2O Academy, we saw last weekend that BXX ran a show in your academy. Is it something that you are now thinking about, rent your local to other promotions so they can run shows during the pandemic?
When we moved in 2 years ago, I started renting out. A few promotions have run here, over the course of the last 2 years. And then the pandemic hit, and I had that gave me a lot of time to think about things because I had nothing else to do except time on my hands to think. And while especially in the beginning when the company and the school was still growing, that revenue wasn't coming in. It was a struggle. We were scratching and crawling to pay the bills at times, which I knew was going to happen. So the rentals were very helpful to pay the bills. Pandemic happened, and I got to kind of sit back and look at business wise as far as we set up the building to make it very accessible and easy for any promotion to come in here and run their show. Literally, you have to plug in and everything's already here. The ring, everything, it's a made, built, ready facility for any company to come in here and just run their show. All they got to do is promote, and hopefully they draw and make some money. Then I looked at it, I guess the other perspective was, yes, we are making it easy for every company to come in here and do their thing. Yes, the rental money is helpful. I guess the other side of it was, it is all our hard work, guys on the roster, the students, myself and others. And, the other companies can come in here and just, kind of have it easy. So during the pandemic, I got to the point where I didn't really want to rent the building out anymore. Is the money nice? Is it helpful? Of course, it does help pay the bills. But now, as far as rentals go, being very selective of who I do business with now, for many reasons. Pandemic, and I just got to watch my the business. If something happens on my time and on my clock, that's one thing. God forbid something happens during a rental and I lose the business and so I lose the building. That's my livelihood, especially now since I'm stepping away from the ring. Wrestling for me in the ring was always my number one source of income. But in that time, build up H2O in the school for this to be number one. And that was the biggest reason why I'm at the point now I can finally retire, is because I've built all this up now and I don't have to rely on me wrestling as the number one source of income. Now H2O in the school is. And, like I said, God forbid something happened and I lost all this, I lose everything and I can't take care of my family and pay the bills. So just very selective of who I rent out to now. Like you said, Violence and Suffering ran here this past weekend. All went well. All operations went smooth. And hopefully now, can continue to, do business together. It helps them out, gives them a venue to, do their thing, helps us out financially, pay bills and all that good stuff. So, hopefully that extending the olive branch will continue and more roots can grow off the tree from there. A few other promotions and promoters. My student, Sean Henderson, runs shows here. Stan Styles does his intergender bonanza shows here. And we got a few others coming up as well. So it helps, but, I'm only going to do business with good people that I know and that won't burn my place down to the ground at the end of the day.
That's the best thing to do. Now you're in the middle of the Separate Ways tour, your retirement tour, as you said. The question is, why now? Is something that you've already think about, like retiring this year? Is it because the pandemic? Because, as you said, now you can live with the money you earn from the academy? Is it something about your physique, your injuries? Is it something that you really wanted to do this year? Or is something that you think about during the pandemic and you say, now I need to take a break, now I'm going to retire?
It's definitely a little bit of everything. Pandemic and stuff is probably, I would say, probably on the bottom of the list, but physically I'm actually probably feeling the best I've had in quite some time, and that's just from reopening the school and keeping busy and training with the kids. And physically I don't feel horrible. I'm far from 100%. And that's just wear and tear from doing this for so long. Danny Havoc passing was a big part of it. And I think just where I am at, I think currently in life and everything, I accomplished more than I ever desired in professional wrestling, and it got to the point again. A lot of pandemic was blessing in disguise because I finally had time to sit down and think about a lot of things. Have I thought about, retirement over the years? Yes. But and I've never retired before. I've taken, small little breaks at time, or I've slowed down a lot or cut my schedule in half. But this is like the first real retirement. And I'm comfortable with the decision, content with the decision. Again, a lot had to do with it, with putting the time and effort into H2O to get it where it is now. And I'm not making $1 million. I don't live in a $250,000 house with a 2-car garage or anything like that. I'm a comfortable living. Like I said, the bills are paid, the wife's happy, and the dog's got food in the bowl, and that's all that matters to me. And H2O is doing well. We have almost 40 students enrolled at the academy, and they give me, they're my motivation now. They're my responsibility. I wake up every day knowing, hey, I got to put in some work today to continue to grow H2O and keep this place going so they have a future and a place to apply their craft and chase their dream, because they're the future of H2O as well. They really are the true foundation of the company. And, I will now live vicariously through them in their journey and in their careers going forward. Still get excited. Like, I'm very excited for these, since this last month so far of matches I've done. I'm looking forward to the matches I have ahead this weekend and after. So like a little fire and motivation is still there. I want to go out and have some and tell some good stories. And I guess it's just another aspect of it got to the point where really what else was there for me to do? I didn't want to just go out there and just have matches and beat the body up for no reason. I really like story and having purpose and something I can dig my teeth into. And, luckily all the matches I've had for the last month, have had some story. And, I traveled, very grateful, traveled around the world, and, in the wrestling world, titles and tournaments and all that stuff, man, I'm like, aside from working on, a national television platform, I did everything I wanted to do. So, happy with that chapter. I'll close that book, and now I'll start writing a new one and continuing in the business and doing something I enjoy, but as a booker, as a promoter, and as a trainer.
Now that you mentioned that you didn't get to wrestle on national television, I wanted to ask you about this Cody Rhodes Open Challenge, because you were like the first wrestler pushing Cody to have this match with you. Then the Open Challenge came. We saw Warhorse, we saw Rick Stark, we saw independent wrestlers. But there was a day that you post something on Twitter like, it doesn't matter anymore, stop pushing for the match. How did you feel during this time? Did you believe that you really was going to get that opportunity? There was any talk with the company? How do you feel in general about the situation, being so close, but at the same time so far to be on national TV?
Yeah. When I called Cody out a couple of years ago online, went into it with the same mindset when I called Onita out. But looking back on it all, if I put the work in as much as I did with Onita, I think it would have came to fruition. I never did put out a video promo, calling out Cody, stuff like that. So I feel like if on my part, if I would have put more work in, it could have definitely happened. Who knows? I also was never, it wasn't end all be all. If it wasn't something that if it didn't happen, I was going to dwell on it. While it was something important and I had, merit behind it and why I wanted to do it. To me, again, I don't want to take away from doing it or why I did it, but, Onita and all that meant so much, and I put a lot of effort and time into doing it. I guess just, placement overall and in life. If I would have called Cody up before and then it was in a different place in life and had other things going on, maybe, but I just, again, got to the point where, I called him out. It didn't happen, and it really, it was what it was. I have enough other things going on to keep me busy to the point where I'm like, yeah, it's not the end of the world, that it didn't happen. I was very happy to see Eddie Kingston, get that opportunity and then get signed. So if I look at anything, because he's one of my biggest influences and favorite wrestlers of all time, and just a good dude. It was that day he got that opportunity and he got signed and he deserved it all. So if anything, somebody got something out of it, I'm glad he did and got signed and is making some money to, live life comfortably and take care of his family.
When you talk about the decision of retire this year, you also talk about the impact that the passing away of Grant Danny Havoc, have had in your life. How did it affect you, the news about the passing of Grant? Because you were so close with him, you both created the H2O Academy, you gave that emotional speech during the H2O show in IWTV. How does everything affected your life? Just not as a wrestler, because as a person, because you were so close to him.
Man, it was tough because his wife passed away in March, I believe, and once that happened, I hate to say it, and I think some of us felt it. Once his wife passed, it was going to be a tough time for him after to, keep him around. And I hate to even say that. There's no one that I've met in the wrestling business aside from him and like our small circle of close friends, myself, Devin Moore, Drew Blood, Danny Havoc, Lucky, Connor Claxton, Alex, Schlack, small circle guys. He was close and good friends with everybody because he was just such a good human being and good dude, and affected so many people in so many different ways. It's hard for a lot of people because, again, yeah, he was just such a good person. He would say a lot of times it's nice to be nice, and it really is. And I try to think about that every day and just be a good human being and treat everybody as good as possible. And he always was. I learned so much from him. I would say out of anybody I've met in the wrestling business, I never got closer to anybody, aside from him, having long conversation or texting at 3:00 in the morning when you're up and not sleeping, and just learned a lot, so personally was close. And then professionally, man, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't even be talking to you right here, right now. And that's for a lot of us because he was so unselfish as a person. I worked him at Carnage Cup many years ago, and he gave me a superplex on a shopping cart, and everything took off from there. And because, he liked me, saw something in me, and that circle of guys kind of all took me under their wing and always looked out for me. He got me my job at CZW and spoke up for me, and so did others. He just had such a big part, an influential part of life outside the ring and in the ring. I don't know. Yeah, life would be a lot different if he, wasn't involved and in my life, and as well as others. So it's just, him not here. It's weird. My first first match back, amongst the pandemic, that was outside of H2O, I think I did the surprise at ICW in July. And though he's regardless if he passed, he's been retired, so he wasn't really in the locker room all the time. But it was the deathmatch guys in the locker room at that show, and it felt different, and we all felt different, and it still feels different. So I'm just at least here at H2O doing all we can to keep his name and his legacy alive. He's one of the best of all time. So such a creative person. Helped me and very influential at H2O, coming up with the concept and the logo and this and that. And he is very much missed by everybody. I don't know if he truly will ever know the impact that he made on so many of our lives, because of him, he dictated a lot of our lives and where we are today in a good way. And it's just because of how he was. And the only thing we can continue to do is, keep making him proud. He told me many of times, whatever venture I was doing, whether I had my store for a certain period of time or where, he would come to training on some nights and see the amount of students that we have. And he would, just be in awe sometimes of the stuff I've been able to accomplish. And when he said he was proud or of whatever I did, it just made everything seem worth it. And you could tell it was genuine, because he really did care about everyone else more than himself. And he will be missed. And he was the best. He really was.
We really appreciate everything that you did that you are doing, no, to keep the memory alive of Danny Havoc. And it's also very emotional to see you talk about him. And that is something I wanted to ask you, because you are this bulldozer, the deathmatch wrestler, the big man. But then when you have to open yourself, you open out, like in this interview, like you did in the speech after he passed away, something that you also mentioned on your retirement video, saying that, I want people to remember me as a good guy. Is it difficult to be like this big man, the deathmatch wrestler, but also being able to be open with the people, to be a good man with the people, so they can see you as a good person outside the ring, but also as a monster inside it?
I can only speak for myself and say, it's not hard at all. I have, if anyone knows me in or outside of the ring, personally, professionally, or, just a meeting with a fan at a show, I have always been me. I don't know if it was my upbringing or just how I am. I've been fortunate enough to do this for a long time and have been able to do a lot in life because of the business. So it humbled me very early on in life. And I'm just very, thankful and appreciative of a lot. And, I've always been that way. I've never felt like, like you said, portray the bulldozer in the ring and regular Matt Tremont outside of it. They're the same person, just in the ring, very more violent and do crazy things. But I mean, I don't say I wouldn't say I'm, I wear my heart on my sleeve or anything like that. But I guess sometimes I get told I'm too nice or I care too much, but it's just how I am. And I think people can see that. People can, tell if you're genuine and if you're BSing them or not. And, my students know, the boys in the locker room when they're here for shows know, being always upfront and honest and genuine. And, and I've been telling a lot of my students and a couple guys on our roster, and this, I guess, wrestling wise, with their character and the evolution of their character. And I said, you got to normalize yourself. If you want to get over and get to the next level or whatever you want to do, you have to be able to relate to the people. And if you're real, genuine, and honest, and you can normalize yourself, even if you have this over the top, very gimmicky character, and you need to evolve your character, I'm like, just be you. We put something out not too long ago. It was myself and Jimmy Lyon setting up their barefoot match for Neil Diamond Cutter. And I said in the beginning of the video, I'm like, hey, let me talk to Chad Burke and, normalize him. I feel like sometimes people forget, we all, we're all human beings at the end of the day, and we all can relate to each other. We all got feelings and emotions and this, that, and the third. So just be you. And I think overall, it'll be just okay. It'll be all good.
Now that your career is coming to an end, let's talk about a little bit about your career, your beginnings in the business. Did you always wanted to be a deathmatch wrestler, like being not only a wrestler but a deathmatch wrestler? And also, if that's the case, which were like your biggest inspiration? We know that Onita was one of the biggest one, but I also wanted to ask you if you were also a fan of the work of Ryuji Yamakawa, because he used it separate ways as you use now when you are doing your entrance. Do you use the song because he was also a big inspiration for you? And this is as I pay in tribute, but what were like your biggest inspiration when you were like starting to be a wrestler?
So I am. A lot of people think I'm a lot older than I am. I look the oldest I've ever gotten is 38. I'm like, man, I'm not that old, but I'm only 31. But I've been doing this since I was 15, half my life. I started training 15, 16, and made my pro debut at 17 in, I think, January of 2007. I didn't have a school to go to. I had many trainers, very old school, and how I came up. But Primetime Amy Lee, one of my main trainers who I credit a lot to. And my first 3 to 4 years in the business, just worked regular matches, working the local scene around the New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware area. Finally got an opportunity to do hardcore. Wanted to be in the business and be a pro wrestler because I think I started watching wrestling probably around age 9 or 10. WWF, WCW, the height of the Attitude Era, and would eventually come across King of the Death matches on video, and was hooked. So while already a wrestling fan, then came across that genre and style, and I was hooked, and I became even bigger of a wrestling fan. And I knew that was what I wanted to do, and was hardcore wrestling. And senior year of high school, I said, I don't need this piece of paper. Dropped out of high school and started training and then working shortly after. And with all goals and aspirations to make it in the business, to do what you enjoy to do and make a living at it. And again, thankfully have been able to do that. And with a little luck along the way, because that could have went all wrong and could have been, not went that way at all. Once I came across the genre, Onita was always one of my favorites. Yamakawa as well. I think a lot of newer fans don't know he came out the separate ways. But I started using the Journey song. 2014 Tango Webb against Devin Moore. I was teasing going my separate ways from the company at the time, and that's when I'm like, I think this would be a good song to use, knowing I wasn't going anywhere, and that was supposed to be the start of the build towards me and Nick Gage at CZW. The fans really liked the song. And 6-7 years later, still using it. And people love when I come out to the Journey song. and to the point to if I don't, they're very mad. So I make, especially now these last few matches, making sure I'm coming out the separate ways when it's all said and done. But yeah, Onita, huge influence. I'm very well. I love deathmatch wrestling. I probably watch the least of it now. I'm very old school wrestler and fan at heart. You know, I'll watch Memphis and a lot of territory stuff. You know, Jerry Lawler, a lot of world class from Texas. You know, I love old school wrestling and storytelling and stuff like that. But deathmatch wise, yeah, when I watched Onita matches and early FMW stuff, I didn't even feel like I was watching a wrestling match. I thought I was watching a movie, and it's just because of how they sold and told stories. The post-match stuff in the locker rooms, and everyone's, looks like they're practically dying, getting worked on, and man, they just told some dramatic stories, and it sucked me in, and I thought I was watching more than just a match when I watched Onita or a lot of early FMW stuff, and that's what really hooked me, and I just really enjoyed the storytelling part and what they did, and then Danny Havoc was a real big influence. Once I started going to CZW shows early on in life, Danny Havoc, Nick Gage, of course. He was always one of my favorites. So, yeah, Onita, Gage, they were definitely the forefront guys that made me want to do what I did for the last 15 years.
And you got the opportunity to work with both of them, so that's always good when you're speaking about it. When you in your first year, being a deathmatch wrestler is something difficult. I talked last month with Ciclope, the Mexican wrestler, and he told me that Mexico being like such a traditional country, most of the people that like teaching you wrestling, they tell you like, you're not going to get a living with deathmatch wrestling. It isn't worth it. Did any kind of people ever tell you that it wasn't worth it to do like deathmatch wrestling at the beginning when you are not earning that much of money, you are not living out of wrestling? And did you ever think about quitting during your career, or maybe just not being that hardcore guy and be just a normal or regular wrestler?
Nah, not really. If there's one thing I've always, set in life, I did my thing. Never really let anybody influence me or listen to anybody. I did my thing. If I had to learn the hard way, I would learn the hard way. But everything wrestling or in life in general, always go into something 100%, knowing what I'm getting myself into, physically, emotional toll it's going to take. And you should know, and everyone knows, getting into the wrestling business in general, the sacrifices it takes, the struggle. There's going to be hard times. The wife and I have been together 10 years, and so she was with me before I even made a name for myself. When I was making $30 a match, we were living out of the car, hoping we made enough money in a couple days to get a motel for the night, so we weren't sleeping in the car. I had someone go through all those struggles with me together, and then and she saw the sacrifice and the struggle just to chase a dream, to be successful, and I guess live the American dream, as they say, I guess. And then, stayed with me all those years, and making it and seeing that all that sacrifice and tough time was worth it. And that makes you who you are today. I no regrets. Everything I went through, all the struggles, being broke, not having money, being beat up, that made me who I am today. I look back on all that stuff, and as knowledge I can pass to my students, So yeah, wouldn't change any of it. And if anyone tried to, it went right in one ear and out the other. I wasn't paying no attention. I was, living my life sometimes by the seat of your pants, because that's all part of the journey, the journey in life, and then the destination, and that's what makes us. So yeah, I'm glad everything worked out, and everything happens for a reason, and wouldn't have changed a thing.
That's so cool. After all this, after your first year, like doing indies, doing like IWA Mid South, you went to the IWA Deep South. You finally reached CCW. That was like when you were there, like the big deathmatch company in the US, one of the biggest in the world. How did you feel when you arrived to CCW? Was it something really big for you? And we also see that in your time there, like not only were you a wrestler in CCW, you were like one of the biggest selling points of the company, winning the title, having a long run, this big feud with DJ Hyde. When you arrived to CCW, you were champion there, you were having all these big matches, big rivalries. Did you really feel like you really accomplished what you've ever looking for?
It's to hear you say all that, and I still think about it to this day. It's all surreal because as a fan, CZW was my ECW growing up, so it's where I wanted to be. It was my WWE. Cage of Death was my WrestleMania, and you daydream about that stuff. I used to stock shelves and think about wrestling inside the Cage of Death as a teenager, and then there you do it. and I was in the Cage of Death 3 or 4 times. Won Tournament of Death, won the heavyweight title. It's the things you dream about, you think actually probably aren't ever going to happen, but you put the work in and all that stuff to hopefully it happens, and then it happens. And again, I think everything happens for a reason. Right place, right time as well. I know some people will say maybe my time in CZW could have been better at times or better booked, but at the end of the day, I really don't care. I can look back on it and be like, man, I did all that. And, even to hear you say those things, to be up there with the greats to CZW and be a champion, like all that's still crazy to me, that all it happened, and it doesn't even seem real anymore, knowing that I'm going to be done soon. And I'm like, yeah, it's crazy. I don't even really, I guess, the right words to even put it. Again, I'm not trying to sound cliche or whatever, but again, humbled and just thankful. Like, it's crazy that all those things happened. And, without that platform I got at CZW initially, I wouldn't have been able to make the name and have the, platform to make my name in the beginning to do a lot of things elsewhere. So a lot of it, pretty much everything I've done would be because of that initial platform that CZW gave me. People have their opinions on DJ Hyde. Man, if it wasn't for the feud that I had with, as far as, in-ring stuff, the feud with DJ, that made me a made man in the eyes of the fans. And they saw the sacrifices and the big bumps and the craziness that I took working with DJ. And, it just made my job easier all the years after. Guy did a lot for me over the years. I could never take that away from him. Because it comes down to the booker and the promoter and whatever committee at the end of the day to say, hey, we're going to put faith and stock into this guy to put the strap on him and have him be the representation of a company and put the title on him. And I got to hold that belt for a good amount of time.
400 days.
Crazy. And when I had the belt, man, I felt like I was the NWA champion, and uh, that's how I perceived myself in my mind at the time. I'm going to take this belt everywhere, represent CZW, and be just a world's heavyweight champion. So I took great pride when I held that belt. Um, I loved my time at CZW. You know, was there hiccups along the way? Was there drama? Of course, it's pro wrestling. But again, all that stuff, you know, it happens for a reason and makes us who we are today. So amongst the good, amongst the bad, CZW was a great time.
After your great time in CCW, you also were like a big part of GCW when Brett started running the company back in 2016. How do you feel when GCW like came to the business? Did you ever think that it was going to become like this big indie phenomenon that is right now? And also, again, another promoter that really trusts you because you were again one of the first champions in GCW, and also you had like one of the best feuds of your career. You talked about the feud with DJ, but you also had this amazing trilogy with Gage when he came out of prison, all the hype. It was like, so maybe not the peak of your career, but one of the biggest highlights. So how did you feel when GCW started? How did you see the promotion? And also, what are your memories about that trilogy with Gage?
Oh, you know, GCW came along out of nowhere and really cornered the deathmatch market. You know, that it was needed. You know, there was, you know, I guess what's the supply and demand. You know, there was demand for it, and GCW supplied it, and it gave off the old school CZW vibe, and you know, man, the fans wanted it. They ate it up. You know, Brett Lauderdale, another one that's been around for a long time and you know, influential in my career. You know, he was the referee of one of my first hardcore matches, which got me a opportunity at Carnage Cup, and that Carnage Cup match got me CZW. And you know, again, things happen for a reason, and if that didn't happen, who knows what would have happened. But yeah, GCW, I think overall, right place, right time, you know, supply and demand, and, you know, I appreciate, you know, help being one of the key players to, you know, in the company's infancy, you know, to get it off the ground and then look where it is today. You know, it's probably the, you know, the top independent wrestling promotion going today. You know, and it all starts somewhere because you gotta build a foundation, you know, somewhere. And you know, yeah, lots of memorable moments and matches. Like I had my run at CZW, craziness. And then a whole nother run at GCW, which was even crazier and bloodier than I think the CZW stuff I did. It was just, yeah, it was balls to the wall every show, everyone working 110% in those early GCW shows at HOW, at Game Changer World. It was, again, right place, right time, great atmosphere. The building had an atmosphere, had an aura about it. And yeah, it's probably one of those, you know, even though it was only like a year or two, very influential and legendary like building in the wrestling community.
You really felt like they were like creating something big in that place.
Yes, you could definitely feel they were on to something. Even back to that first NGI, it felt different and it felt special. Like, okay, they're on to something, and it's a matter of time when it's going to take off. And the opportunities I got there, again, you know, being world champion there, and taking the belt to Mexico and working over there, my first tour over there with DTU and GCW, that was awesome. Yeah, just had so many memorable, violent, bloody matches, and and not, and like you said, the biggest ones and the most important ones. And, I think as far as my body of work over the years, what I'll be remembered for, I think the stuff I did with Onita and the trilogy with Nick Gage. Again, he was big, very influential on me, one of my favorites growing up. And and we built a story for it, and we never met each other. The people knew that story. Just I was a fan of him. Nick went away, and then all of a sudden I came up out of nowhere. Again, right place, right time. And it's crazy how the universe works. Nick comes back, and now at GCW, and we finally meet, and the anticipation and that first match, and we're the finals of a tournament. So we already wrestled twice, and we're already dead. The second time we meet, and it again, finals of a tournament, and we're already dead. And then the third match, we're actually fresh. And then we do this crazy on the fly 3 stages of hell and all this stuff. It was special. It meant a lot to me. And I know it means something to Nick as well, and meant enough to me to the point where we only did those 3 matches, and me and Nick Gage have never had another singles match. And I prided myself on those 3 matches so much to the point where have turned down many matches, singles matches with me and Nick since that last match of the trilogy in December of 2017. Sometimes it's not all about the money and the payday, and it's just, I guess, not to be corny, but the art form. Those 3 matches were special in that place and time, and would me and Nick Gage have another good singles match? Yes. But something about those matches, that trilogy couldn't be topped, even by us, I don't think. And they were just special. So, we kind of made a unwritten bond where we wouldn't do a singles match again. Because I know a lot of people, especially, I wouldn't say throughout the retirement, if Nick was healthy, I'm not sure if his foot is still bad or not, that me and him were going to wrestle. But I was just, again, man on my word, a lot of times, whether people knew it or not, that, they're after that third match, there was never going to be another Matt Tremont Nick Gage singles match. And it's just, and I felt like just keeping that kayfabe and making that trilogy even more special, because there's only 3 matches out there, and there only ever will be 3 matches of myself and Nick, and I think that's pretty cool.
Talking about that final match in December, you talked that everything came on the fly about these 3 stages of hell. So the thing about getting out of the ropes and put barbed wire on there, was it something like you planned before, or was it something like you came out during the match with Nick?
It was definitely creatively known behind the scenes that was the plan. But just I guess on the fly, as far as how it came off to the paying customers, were they're going, because each match we went 30, 40, 50 minutes in all those matches. And then for the last match to escalate like that, it was just crazy. And then as far as on the fly, especially the first match, again, we've never wrestled before. We don't know if there's chemistry or not. We didn't call a damn thing. That's in the ring working, old school. Call it on the fly, especially a death match on the fly. For him to trust me to trust him. And we wrestled twice as well. Second match, couple ideas out there, pretty much on the fly, just working. And then
that's amazing, because the second match, if I'm not wrong, it was no canvas cinder block match. So that's super crazy to do without any kind of planification.
And I think out of all three, I don't know if that one gets enough love because that was brutal. The superplex that Nick gave me, my ankle still to this day, I can't really turn it right because of the impact on those blocks. And I really like that one just because of the story we could tell. You know, wrestling ring already, there's not that much, there's a lot of impact. Then you had, you know, all these cinder blocks. Just an incredible story and painful. That's as real as it gets when you're slamming, even as something as simple as a basic scoop slam, body slam, whatever you want to call it, on cinder blocks. And you can't avoid them because they're everywhere underneath you. Yeah, just the amount of violence. They're probably the bloodiest matches I ever had. We were covered head to toe, physically and mentally exhausted after those death matches with each other. And Nick would say it, you know, you have to kill me to beat me, you know, type of thing. And we did. We pushed each other, elevated each other. Yeah, as soon as I get in the car after those shows and the wife's driving home, it's about an hour and a half home from Game Changer World. I'd be just like, yeah, definitely need a cigarette after those matches. And yeah, just exhausted in the car, you know, falling asleep right away. Just gave everything we have in those three matches. I don't know if it's great. I mean, I feel like those matches were the matches I lived for and why I wrestled, because I was such a big fan of him and influential on me. Those were the matches I waited for my whole life. You know, that was like someone wanting to wrestle Hulk Hogan. I got to wrestle Hulk Hogan 3 times and lay it all out there.
Good. When we talk about like CCW, you talk about this drama that came in this period of time. It was really a difficult time because, you know, CCW wasn't like this hot thing anymore. You have the new kid in the town at this GCW. You have then this DJ Hyde telling, if you work with me, you cannot work with them, and all of that. You're having to decide. Then you have the incident of Cage of Death, no, with Brett and Gage running in and all of that. By then you were like a regular also in GCW, but also in CCW. How did you live those days? Do you think that Brett and DJ could have worked together some way, or do you think like they were never gonna work together and it was like an obvious thing that CCW will go down, if you want to say, and GCW will came up?
The whole thing's crazy. I'm probably one of few that I didn't care what company. Well, I wasn't choosing sides, and I feel I had enough tenure in the business at that point and a good rapport with DJ and with Brett that I'm like, I'm working for both. I don't care what you say. I think at the end of the day, I don't think they would have been able to work together and make it all happen. Obviously, you know, some people probably think, you know, how could you not be able to? All the money left on the table, the opportunity, the potential of matches and story and money to be made and drawn. I think at the end of the day, it didn't things happen for a reason, and or some things don't happen for a reason. I don't think it ever really would have came to fruition for many different reasons. And you know, that'll be one of those wrestling stories 20 years from now where you think about, you know, what if it did? GCW versus CZW in the Cage of Death. Would have it been awesome? Oh, hell yeah. But I honestly don't think it would have been able to come to fruition, and both parties would have been able to work with each other. And that's just my honest opinion. You know, it's a shame, you know, CZW wasn't able to continue to do what they're doing. You know, at one point in time it was the biggest independent company out there. And again, things happen for a reason. and who knows what the future is, you know, for the Combat Zone. But it got to the point where, you know, I think GCW still needed CZW, and then it got to the point GCW took off so much, CZW was in their rear view. And now it's to the point GCW's rocking and rolling and doing their thing, and now CZW, if they ever do run again, you know, need to find out what their identity is and what CZW is again, and just focus on them. You know, GCW focused on them, and they're doing their thing, and hopefully they can do their thing. And then you had me in the middle. Again, I'm like, I'm working for both of you. I don't care. I don't want to, because I don't have any drama in my real life. I don't want any drama in wrestling. This is ridiculous. And in the middle of all that, I'm just trying to start to build H2O and do my own thing as well. So yeah, crazy.
I pretty much agree with you, and even though I don't think that the rivalry would have worked, because, you know, when CCW did the big feud with ROH, they were like the biggest two companies, but at the point that GCW tried to do like the running at Cage of Death, CCW was already in a downhill, attendance wise, talent wise, so I don't think that will be like a really big thing for CCW. And you say that you don't want drama in your life, but I wanted to ask you about your last days in CCW, because at one point you said that you were going to have a last match and then have like a part ways with CCW. You eventually came back. You were there for some shows last year, 2018, 19. You saw like the crowds go little, and you eventually just part ways with the company, assume, and you didn't like wanted to work here anymore. Why did you finally why did you give that second chance? Because saying like, I don't want to work with you, but then coming back and working some shows with them. And also, how did you feel like after being in big CCW, you've been like big fan of CCW, then having wrestling shows last year and see that the crowd were so little and CCW was like a shade of what they used to be?
Yeah. I tell people a lot when CZW is discussed anymore. You know, even in private, the company itself, the letters, whatever, will always have a soft spot in my heart because what it meant to me. And as you said, no drama real life, no drama wrestling. Going into that Asbury Park show CZW ran, that was all shoot. I took the mic after that match and said, I'm done. And I did it that way, so I knew I could leave and no one could do anything about it at that point because I just did it publicly in the ring. There was just, and it was nothing, honestly, nothing really DJ did in particular. There was a lot of people in the company at the time, you know, that just, man, I didn't like. Very toxic environment. I didn't like how they were treating other people because I've always kept to myself. I do my thing. I show up. I do my job. I go home. Again, treat everybody kindly. You know, never had no heat with anybody directly. But I didn't like the things I was seeing. Again, toxic environment. Not to say I never got involved in politics, but, you know, when you are told one thing and you've been there for so long and now there was like nothing for you, it was a head scratcher. You know, I didn't understand that when I still had so much to give to the company. But overall, it was just a toxic environment. I need to remove myself from this toxic environment. And I could at that time because I had so much else going on, and that was always my goal over the years, you know. And at that point in time, I still had my store. H2O is in its early infancy, and, you know, still working consistently elsewhere, and built my name up. And though I hate to say it, you know, I didn't need CZW anymore, and I wanted to remove myself from that situation. And, you know, cut that promo in Asbury Park and told DJ, hey, I'm leaving next month. I would love to have my last match here. And I wanted to wrestle Dan O'Hare, Big Scare Dan O'Hare, because, he was a product of the CZW school, a lot of potential. Dan's a great dude. And I'm always, looking at giving back to the business and giving someone the rub and doing good business on my way out, and make a new star, and working Dan O'Hare and him beating me on the way out is not going to do nothing but good for him. If the company continue to do, good things after, but that's out of my hands by that point. So yeah, had the match. I was done and I left. I think I was gone for 4 or 5 months. Didn't have much contact with anybody. But it was never to the point where it was like, I'm never going back or anything like that. Because it was I guess more of a temporary, again, yeah, I needed to get away from this locker room and the toxic people and the environment. I just didn't like it whatsoever. I would show up and sometimes I'm like, man, I really don't want to be here. And slowly every month at CZW, all the old veterans were gone, and you didn't know half the people in the locker room, or they didn't appreciate the company. They didn't appreciate those who came before them, for them to even have a CZW to use and abuse, because I feel like CZW, that happened to them a lot over the years. No matter who was in charge or what management was, CZW was like, the used girlfriend over and over and over again. Hey, let me go to CZW and get over real quick, and then I'm going to leave else and go elsewhere. Well, others stayed loyal and, did their thing. And then DJ around, I guess probably November, hits me up and started, I guess, was in discussions with Onita. And Onita would only come back if I was there and tag with him, which is crazy. It's still that, I have a relationship with Onita all these years, and because he's the best. He's been very, very kind to myself and my wife. So yeah, DJ said, we're returning to the arena. Would like to do a tag match with you and Onita against myself and Masada. And I told him, again, never wanted to play politics or anything like that, but, told him overall, like, I will definitely come back. And, it just, I'm hoping things changed, and, I just want to come back and have good quality matches and of purpose, and just enjoy myself. And I can say that from when I returned at Cage of Death that night with Onita at the arena, up until the last match, whichever it was at CZW, and that year of 2019, no issues, showed up, did my thing, and the environment overall, I feel like while it didn't change totally, toxic people that were there were gone. And I could at least just go there and enjoy myself and do my job and leave at the end of the day. So I can say at least when I went back, I enjoyed it. Definitely saw the ramifications of CZW's overall business, as you said, go down, the draw go down. And that is a testament to a lot of things. And I think, DJ would say it over the, bad business, dishonest business. And again, and I'm not trying to bury DJ whatsoever, because, again, did a lot for me over the years. But I think a lot of these things he would say himself. You got to be loyal to the boys and take care of your locker room and do honest, good business at the end of the day. Same thing with your fans and the paying patrons that support you so you can even run a show. And after so long, people are going to tap out. And I think a lot of people tapped out. And yeah, like you said, seeing the crowds dwindle, and seeing overall business, and I could definitely tell, like, I really enjoyed my matches that I had at CZW in 2019, but no one really knew about the product or saw those matches unless you were going to the show or subscribed to CZW Studios or whatever platform they were on at the time. Like I had a really fun match with John Silver and Connor Claxton, Casanova Valentine. But it just,
yep.
yeah, and Kirk as well. There was just no buzz around the shows and the matches anymore. So it's, you know, having good quality work, but just nobody talking about it. So, yeah, I mean, you know, at the end of the day, CZW shot itself in its own foot. And I think the powers that be I would hopefully say those same sentiments. You know, it is what it is. Again, well, at the same time, we'll always have a soft spot in my heart because, you know, I love CZW, and hopefully one day Combat Zone Wrestling will be able to evolve and do something in the business to leave a legacy that's a positive one.
Yeah. No matter what they do now, they are like the main reason most of the deathmatch guys right now are wrestling. So you have to always have that spot in your heart for CCW. And even though they were doing like bad business, they were able to get Onita, no, as you said, that Cage of Death, but also at the show, the first match you had with Onita. How did you feel really when that came out, the opportunity to face Onita, that supposed to be singles match, the promo that Giancarlo did for the match that was amazing? And also, how did you feel when you get to know that your promised one-on-one match was a 3-on-3 match? And we saw like the documentary that they were shooting that weekend, that you really was like, you were excited for the match, but for what I saw, you really was like, like I thought I was going to have this big match, and then you have the 3-on-3. So how everything went to with Onita and DJ?
The whole process from start to finish is insane. And, you know, the origin of it is, you know, at that point in time, I did a lot already, but didn't get to Japan. That was my goal. I asked a veteran in the business at a show. It was Steve Mack. I'm like, what can I do to get to Japan? He's like, call people out. I'm like, okay, cool. I called out the biggest deathmatch name ever, Onita, and it worked. Never did I think it would work. And it was just putting out a promo, and eventually I caught his eye, saw something in me or something I said, whatever. And we made it happen. And again, the goal was just to go to Japan. In the meantime, we were able to bring Onita here. I was able to then finally go to Japan. And then Onita came back here. So crazy how everything wound up working out and everything that happened. Going into it, yes, one-on-one. In the back end, though there was inklings that at the time, Onita really wasn't working many singles matches. So there was already some kind of doubt. You know, he's been doing multi-man matches for quite a few years now. I think some have to be realistic. His age and his body, his knees at the time were so bad. You know, physically, he just, you know, it was tough for him. But he's Onita, and he'll push through, and he did. You know, what was I bummed out? Yes. And then once I found out about the 6-man, some people don't know this story. If I've told it, I don't know if I have told it or not. When it was presented to me that it was a 6-man tag, which was 100%, you know, Onita's decision, and I understood, you know, age, his physical well-being. I knew at the end of the day, I still got to work with Onita multiple times. If the one-on-one never happened, which it didn't, it's all good. I don't lose any sleep over it whatsoever. I'm just a kid from South Jersey that watched him on tape for many years, and I got to work with and even call a friend. So very happy with all that. Once I got presented, it was going to be a 6-man tag. CZW wanted 2 people in particular. Those I won't name. And I said no. And that was the first time ever in my career I kind of put my foot down. And I said, if this is now a 6-man tag, man, I want, you know, 2 people in there. The first 2 people, I wanted Stockade and G Raver, because at the time we were doing the Awakening. Onita was bringing in a few other guys with him, and they told me they were going to get an opportunity on the show in that, I think it was a triangle tag match or something like that with 3 teams or so. So I was happy that Raver and Stock were at least going to get an opportunity on the show. And I told them, I'm like, all right, I know they're good, and if I'm in a 6-man, the 2 guys that you want, no. I'm picking Danny Havoc and Ricky Shane Page. And that's who I picked. And it's crazy that all these years later, I picked Ricky to wrestle my last match. And again, Grant being so influential, it's weird how life works. But that's who I wanted to tag with. I didn't want to tag with more than RSP and Danny Havoc. Because again, me being very unselfish a lot of times, hey, is it a cool moment and a cool match working with Onita and his guys, and now I get to share that with 2 people. And I wanted to share that with Ricky Shane Page and Danny Havoc. And I got to share that moment with other people. So to me, at least personally, it was a lot cooler. They probably, at least promotional wise, as far as business, they could have handled it a little differently, could have been a little bit more honest with the people. And you're paying patrons, and I think
because
that was
when did you really knew that it was going to be a 3-on-3 match and not a singles?
Probably, I think 2 weeks before.
Okay. That's the thing, because when everything happened, like DJ said that he didn't know, and when Onita came, he realized about everything. But I think Sandy went very vocal on Facebook about it, that he didn't know that DJ already knew that it was going to be a 6-man tag, but he still promoted until the very day of the show as once in a lifetime one-on-one match, when everybody knew that Onita didn't do one-on-one matches. So maybe that would have been handled a little bit better.
It was DJ put in a tough spot? Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I gotta put myself in his shoes for and give the benefit of the doubt a little bit. You're promoting this at that point in time, probably the biggest show and biggest match in CZW's history, which is crazy to say. And, with his resources and finances, pulled it off. Again, certain things probably could have been put a little more effort in. And some things I just don't know the true story about, even with the explosions and stuff. One thing was said, another thing was said. I honestly don't know the truth with all that. I do know at some point it came down to the last few days, nothing was done, and Maven had to go to Zandig to at least get those bats made, which I have, at least one of them. So we had something. So logistics-wise, definitely things could have been done differently and better. Maybe communication wound up getting, misinformed throughout all of it. And, I'm kind of behind all of that, because I'm not the promoter of CZW or anything. Did I get the wheels spinning to make it happen? Yeah. I put the work, put the promo out, talk to Onita, stuff like that. But, I will give DJ credit. He was able to make it happen. I think, him and High Spots and everybody else was able to make it happen. So I appreciate all that. But yeah, definitely, again, back to where they are now and being honest with, the fans and stuff like that. Yeah, it's going to catch up with you at the end of the day, because you gotta take care of your people that take care of you.
Yeah, and after that, as you said, you get the chance to go to Japan and do the tour with Onita in the indies there. How was the tour in generally in Japan? How did you feel? You did a ton of multi-man tag matches there. It was your first time going to Japan. It's like a really big thing for deathmatch wrestlers in general, getting the chance to work in Japan, but also getting the chance to work there by invitation of such a legend as Onita. So how went the tour in Japan for you?
My two tours of Japan have been the greatest experiences of my life, in and out of wrestling. Um, and even the wife knows that. I tell him like nothing beats Japan. I don't know, just there is something mesmerizing when you're over there. It being so far away, so many years watching it on videotape and all this stuff, and I just man, I love being over there. The culture, the people, the food, how business is done, just the wrestling itself in and out of the ring, and just how people conduct with each other. Just everything is better over there. I really enjoyed it. My fondest memories in life I'll always have are my times in Japan. Again, just a kid from New Jersey, and I got to wrestle in Kurgan Hall, and I got blown up in explosives with Onita. It's the again humbling, gratifying, whatever. Just crazy. You know, I remember landing on the plane and finally getting to Japan. And then doing the explosion match, and even that too, like because a lot of people thought the one-on-one was going to happen in Japan, and they really felt kind of ripped off. But that was 5-on-5, so it was even more people involved. So like with DJ, it was me, DJ, Chainsaw Tony, Nosawa, and Fujita, which is awesome team right there against Onita and all his guys. So like. And I got that was 5-on-5 in Odabi, in front of almost 3,000 people on a shipping dock outside in Japan, and I'm getting blown to smithereens in explosions. It's crazy that it happened, and I still don't feel like it really happened. If it makes sense. It's my greatest accomplishments in life and in wrestling, going in. I know 15 years, you know, in the business. I went to Japan. That was the Mecca to me. That was, again, WrestleMania. You know, got the CZW, accomplished everything there. You know, helped GCW in its infancy. Did a lot of other great things out of a lot of other promotions. Opened the store. You know, started H2O. We are where we are now. Started in the school, working with Onita, going to Japan. I'm not a religious person at all, but I don't like to throw blessed around. But yeah, blessed. Again, just makes me thankful and grateful. None of that stuff could. I live every day as if tomorrow I'm not going to wake up, because you just never know. And that's how I've always lived life. So I just appreciate everything, because tomorrow you could wake up and it's all done. And I've done so much, and I'm only 31, and now going to start a different book, doing a lot of other different things. So I'm like, my first half of life, I did a whole hell of a lot of things I never thought I'd fucking do. And it's crazy. And it's just why I can enjoy life today, because I'm enjoyed and grateful for the life I've had thus far. And Japan really is so much to so many, and it's my greatest accomplishments that I did in the business. Working with Onita elevated my name and really got my name out there, I think, more than anything. And to now call him a friend and, you know, get wished happy birthday at times from Onita, it's surreal. Like, again, it's the guy that we all watched and traded tapes for many, many years ago to do what we do today. And it's still very surreal.
I didn't want to end this interview with talk about CCW, GCW, Onita, but we have to talk also about H2O. You create this H2O, this idea with Danny. Now is as you said at the beginning of the interview, no, it's a way that you cannot live with wrestling without getting to wrestle because you have the academy, you have your voice. Did you came with the idea of creating H2O, and what was your goal in the wrestling business, in the indie wrestling scene in New Jersey when you first started with the company and also with the academy?
As much as when I was younger, aspirations to be a professional wrestler, as much as I wanted to be a performer and a wrestler, wanted to be a booker and a promoter and then a trainer later on. I wanted to do those things just as much as the in-ring performance. And, that goes back to me being a kid and with the action figures and booking cards and stuff like that, just for fun. And I got a lot of practice on point wrestling, OPW. I used to run with the promoter Jeffrey Kane, Loudy. He was the booker, I was the promoter, and that was a lot of good practice for me and my initial steps in that doing that whole process. And then it came to a point in time where at the end of the day it was his baby, and he was going to do what he wanted to do with OPW, and I still really wanted to do my own thing. And then at that point in time, Grant was starting to slow down, and we would sit down and talk, and came up with H2O, and it was just something I always wanted to do. Wanted to not be a deathmatch company, but more story oriented, more angle based, more hardcore, and more old school. And just I guess what my vision of pro wrestling and Grant's vision of pro wrestling, and just mix that all together. And at first it was just a side project, run a couple shows a year. We ran 2 shows the first year, a few more the next. Once the opportunity presented itself in May of 2018 to move into this building, which was the Old Time Wrestling Arena run by Jim Molyneux, former ECW referee, Jim called me and said, "Hey, we're moving out. The opportunity will be there for you to move in." And, logistically took care of all that. And, it was about $6,000 to move into this building. First month's rent, last month's and security deposit. I did not have $6,000 in my pocket. I may have had $100, and not even that. So literally, I knew if we could move into this building, this could be the whole next chapter of my life and build the foundation of what we're doing today. And I sold everything I had, everything to my name. I sold to get that money together to pay that last month in security deposit, and so we could start laying the bricks to build what we have today. And because I knew moving in, not only could we run shows, we could open the school, rent the building out, the birthday party stuff, all that stuff, just to keep the business going. And, after a little over 4 years of running the company now, this is the first time I'm really starting to see, all that hard work pay off, and the vision of myself and Grant really start to come to fruition. And, especially within the last 3-4 months, but to see, the sales of the DVDs and digital downloads and SmartMark really, start to really go up, and get the numbers from my WTV and say, you guys are doing really good, and a lot of, people are watching what you're doing. People are enjoying the product you're doing. They see that it's different from everybody else. And, the boys are enjoying what they're doing. It really is I know that the family word gets thrown out a lot, but our locker room really is. A lot of times guys are coming to work here just because of who's here, and everybody gets along and everybody's having fun and enjoying their job. And, That's been a testament to the company since day one. You know, we've never had no drama or any issues. Everyone's here to, you know, enjoy each other's company and to, you know, do what they enjoy in the ring. And I'm able to book, you know, what I see as pro wrestling, and then those guys that are going out there and painting it on the canvas and doing a tremendous job. And I feel like right now, you know, is our best product overall that we've been putting out. And I feel like little by little, and I'm always thinking long term, you know, are we setting the world on fire? No. But we're going down our path. It might be a little slower than others, but we're still going to be running 10 to 15 years from now. I'm always thinking, you know, long term. And I feel like people are starting to see what we're doing and giving us a chance. And checking out what we're doing. I'm just overall, yeah, business is good. Again, I'm no millionaire, but you know, we're growing, and I'm taking care of the boys, and they're taking care of each other. The fans are coming out. Yeah, it's awesome to see. And then that's just them. The students, that's a whole nother thing, because you know, when we opened the school 2 years ago, we had 4 kids. And now we have 40, and we have even more of an influx, more than that, throughout the course of 3 days a week that the school's open. And they're all just doing so good. I guess, you know, I'll pat myself on the back for 2 seconds, and Preacher and Michael Keener, our other trainers, but they're a good group of kids, and they're so freaking good. And you know, they're way better than I was at 2 years in. It's crazy how good they are. And they've built their names up. They've built their own brand with our student shows, and some people just come to see those shows. So just overall, all aspects of the company right now are doing good. It's keeping me excited, and again, it's given me purpose in life, post wrestling career, as now booker, promoter, and trainer. Because at the end of the day, this is all I know. This is all I've done since I was 15. I don't know how to do anything else. I don't have a trade skill. I'm not a football player or anything like that. You know, if I wasn't doing this, I'd be a normal Joe Schmo, probably stocking shelves at Walmart, because those were retail jobs I had before I, you know, got to the point I didn't have to, you know, work a 9 to 5 anymore. So every day, you know, I work hard so I don't have to do those jobs anymore. And I, you know, again, continue to take care of the wife and make sure everybody's good, and make sure all those kids every week have a building to come to that's always open, so they can chase their dream like I was able to, and put the work in to see where it goes. So yeah, they keep me going. Like I said earlier, I live vicariously through my students now. And they motivate me every day to wake up to keep working hard. And so do the boys on the main roster to keep pushing and get this company somewhere in the next few years. And it just keeps me excited. I'm excited, man. That's all I keep telling everybody. I'm just excited. Though I'm about to retire, again, comfortable and content, but I got so much to look forward to. I'm so busy right now, it's not even funny. I have too much on my plate, but it's a good thing.
It's always good to have so much work to do. So now you're going to retire. This is the end of the road as a wrestler for you. You have so many matches left these coming 3 weeks. You have like your last match at IWA meets out with John Wayne Murdoch. You have this Saturday a spring break main event with Alex Colon in GCW, and you then have in your house the H2O Academy against Ricky St. Page. Why did you choose like these wrestlers to be like the last matches, like in the biggest companies you've ever worked, without counting Combat Zone, for sure? And why did you choose like Ricky St. Page to be that last man that you face in your career?
Ricky in particular, once I got to the decision and the point I knew, okay, I'm retiring, this is definite, you know, who am I going to work where and who's going to be that last match? One of the reasons was, you know, I wanted to mean something that would mean something to Grant. Grant was very influential on my career and Ricky Shane Page's career. Influential. Grant got us both our jobs at CZW. And because of that, we're able to do a lot of other great things in the business. I look at Ricky, and then I looked at it style-wise. Alex and Ricky, very close to how they remind me a lot of how Grant would work. Very innovative, very hybrid. And he's one of the best deathmatch wrestlers going today, one of the best heels going today, which I love his work that he's doing today. And overall, I respect Ricky. I like Ricky a lot. Also, you know, not too long before I announced the retirement and everything, I watched the finals of TOD that he and I had, and I loved that. I loved that match, and I want, you know, it was just, yeah, I wanted one more with him. I wanted to tell one more great story with him, and you know, again, being an unselfish person, you know, and him being one of the top heels on the scene today, you know, yeah, why not go out on top, working with one of the best heels and best guys in the business today, and continue to give him the rub and make him an even bigger heel, so he has a career to run with another 10 to 15 years. Same thing with working with Alex. Same thing with working with Murdoch. All three are on fire right now, doing great things. Them, you know, and I'm not trying to blow smoke up my ass whatsoever. Them working with me only is going to help them continue to make money and do this for a long time and elevate their stock in the business. Murdoch's on fire right now. Alex on fire. Ricky, and they're three of the best in the world. And I know I can go in there, and I wanted to face the best in the world on the way out. So, you know, and Ricky, yeah, to me, was the perfect one to go out with. And I, you know, Alex was the perfect one to go out with at GCW. John Wayne Murdoch is the perfect one to go out at IWA Mid-South. And bringing Ricky in at H2O for my last match, he was the right guy.
I'm sure all of them will be awesome matches. I was going to ask you, I have written this question, like if you will have changed anything in your career, and if you are really proud of everything you do. But after talking with you for an hour, I'm pretty sure that you are really proud of everything you did and that everything happens for a reason. So my last question will be like, is this a retirement forever? We know this is wrestling. You have a really big influence from Onita. So is this real retirement, or this is a Onita or fan retirement? Because I'm pretty sure most of the fan and the promoters, myself included, will really like to see you sometime, and if the time's right, back in a ring.
I would say I'm always been a man of my word at the end of the day, and especially being a businessman and a promoter. The last thing I would want to do is to carny the fans or anyone buying a ticket. There's a lot of people coming October 30th that I haven't seen, you know, in a long time. They're coming to be a part of something special. The weekend itself is already special. Me retiring was just a little extra icing on the cake. And I don't ever want to swerve the people. I don't like doing things like that. And because the boys have been asking me, even the wife asked, but even the wife knows now, because I've talked about it, you know, over the last couple of years. She knows it's real. This is real. October 30th, Friday night, H2O Night 1 of Deathmatch Extravaganza. I'm done. I would say, and again, being a man of my word, you know, I want people to pay for a ticket and watch on IWTV. That, yeah, I watched Matt Tremont's last match. I would say, will I ever fight in the ring again? Yeah, but it ain't going to be for a long time. Maybe like an unsanctioned match that's impromptu on a show to help further an angle or something. But as far as like an advertised match with build and story, I don't know. And who knows? You know, who knows what could happen in life. you know, knock on wood, I could lose all this tomorrow. And if, you know, I lose this building and lose H2O, and I got to go back to wrestle to feed the family, 100%, I got to go back and do what I got to do, because I know that'll still be there, and I can still make money to take care of everything. So God forbid something happened like that. But yeah, 100% October 30th, the bulldoze is done. But I mean, you still see me around at shows, and all that good stuff. But I think it's time to close this book on this chapter of my life.
It's time to close that book. It's also time to close this interview. So the last, Matt, if you want to say something to every fan that is watching this interview, Spanish fan, American fans, international fans, now is the time.
Have been able to accomplish so much in the wrestling business, whether I was humble, grateful, or whatever, or not. Without the support of the fans and you guys believing in me and investing into me all those years ago, that's why I'm able to do the things I've been able to do all these years. And if anyone ever questions that, any wrestler in the business, you're crazy, because if you don't have the support of the people, you don't have anything. So I cannot thank anybody who's ever purchased a ticket to see me perform, or buy a t-shirt, a DVD, whatever, or just, you know, if I shook your hand. Thank you.